name is Burt. My series for Bro Montana is going to be called I Just Want to Cook. Today we're going to do sous vide steak. It's one of my favorite things to do. Me personally, my experience, I've been working in kitchens for all my life, since I was like 13 years old. I went to culinary school for this, and I just have a real passion for cooking. Sous vide steaks is one of the best and easiest things to do as far as cooking steak. It has a method that's very, foolproof. It's not difficult to do. And today I'm gonna be teaching everyone how to do it. So there's a lot of different things that you can use. You don't have to use the same specific equipment, but you can actually use different things and end with the same result. Here we have some nice choice steaks, or New York strip, which is really nice. They have nice marbling. Every time you look at steaks, you can either get the 1.25 inch or thicker steaks, and it doesn't matter how thick the steak is as far as when you sous vide, but you just want to make sure that it has nice fat in it. I like New York strip just because, and I picked these particular ones because of how much fat there is in there as well. The different ingredients, I'm just going to use a simple dry rub. Now there's a lot of fat on the steaks itself, so I don't need to put any olive oil or anything like that. I like to just use some dry garlic powder, and it's also been proven that dry garlic powder is better than fresh garlic powder, because the moisture from the steaks actually has a lot of different, it actually just like reincorporates moisture to the garlic, and it has a better outcome. I use black pepper, which is coarse black pepper. You can get this at Costco, honestly anywhere. I like fresh ground, so I don't like the pre-ground peppers because it loses its flavor and loses its potency if you actually have it already pre-ground. You like kosher salt? I like kosher salt. It's just a nice. It's better than the. I like the kosher salt just because it's better, because it's more coarse, and the iodized salt is a little bit more. It's just the way it's. I've just been using it for a little while. They taught me in culinary school to use this. I don't know why. I like it. Whatever. You can use iodized salt. It's not a big difference. I've used iodized salt too, but you can do whatever you want. So here I have the A-Nova machine, which is one of many different types of sous vide machines, which is a water circulator. Now this machine actually heats up the water into a specific temperature, and it maintains that that temperature for a long period of time. And that's what you really want. It's basically slow cooking steak. And I actually used this really nice plastic container right here that I bought off of Amazon, which is awesome. But you can use anything you want. You could honestly use a pot. You can use any container, because you're not going to heat the temperature to the point where you're going to melt plastic or anything like that. But I would try to use something that's sanitary. And also, I have this vacuum seal machine, which it's a food saver, which is really nice. I've been using it for probably 3-4 years now. The only problem is the bags are a little bit expensive, but I enjoy it. I actually like spending the little extra money for the different containers and seals and things of that sort. I also have the pre-sized bags, which are great, especially what we're doing today with the steaks. Now, the steaks, it's really simple, honestly. You buy the steaks, you season them. The process is it's foolproof. You get the steaks, you season them, you vacuum seal them, and then you put them in the sous vide machine in the water, and then you just forget about it about 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half, or 2 hours and a half, and then after that you take them, you sear them however you want to, whether you want to use a cast iron or whether you want to use open grill with charcoal, or you know, if you have a butane gas grill in the back, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of different methods, and also there's also a method of like using a torch, which is awesome. Me personally, I like using cast iron or some kind of sear with butter, and so you could actually sew it. But I'm going to show you everything today. All right, here I'm going to just start seasoning everything. You could start with any dry ingredient you want. So I've been letting these sit for at least, you know, a half hour to an hour, just to get to room temperature before I throw it in the sous vide machine and throw it into the water. And honestly, it's gonna draw out moisture, and I like to use the dry rub because it's just gonna stick real nice. When you're doing the garlic, you don't want to go too crazy because it's gonna cook for about 2.5 hours, and honestly, it's gonna slowly move around within the Here I'm just gonna give it an easy, like even sprinkle across all the steaks. I'm gonna go with the salt, the garlic, and the peppercorn, or the black pepper. Now this is doing the black pepper. You honestly can do as much as you want. I like a little bit more pepper because I love that flavor. Should I stand up? And then salt. Now these are thicker steaks, so it's okay to put a little bit heavy salt. You're gonna lose some of that flavor as it's slowly cooking, and it's gonna draw a lot of moisture out of the steak, and it's gonna be sitting in the bag, in the jus. Now that's a fancy word. Alright, move it outside. Oh, the steaks have a lot of fat on it. And I don't trim too, like I let it sit. Like some people might want to take the gristle off. I don't. I love all this fat on it. It's gonna give it more flavor. All right, I just got finished seasoning on both sides. Now we're gonna put it in the bag and then vacuum seal. So right now I have all the steaks in the bag. Now I'm gonna vacuum seal them, and it's always good to remember you always wanna drink when you're cooking. Yeah. I got all the steaks vacuum sealed. I'm actually waiting for the sous vide machine to get to a certain temperature. Here we're gonna actually make all the steaks medium rare, which is about 129 degrees. I'm gonna go a little less, and I'm gonna go at 128. Just because when I sear the steaks, I'm gonna take a little bit more time so I can get a nice crust on it, and I can soak it with the butter as well. It takes some time to actually to get the temperature correct, and honestly, it wouldn't be bad if you actually started at a few degrees higher than your It wouldn't be bad if you actually started at a temperature higher than a few degrees higher, just so when you put in the steaks, it's gonna drop a few degrees as well. When you actually throw these steaks in, since these steaks are a little bit thicker, about an inch to inch and a quarter, I want to leave them in at least 2 hours. Now, the longer you want to leave them, you got to think of it as like a slow cook, right? It's gonna cook a little bit longer, and the slower it cooks, it's gonna break down the tissue, break down the fats, break down the muscle. So if you leave it a little bit longer, it's not a bad thing. It's just gonna make it more tender, but it's gonna lose a little bit more moisture. So, you know, you gotta do it, you gotta test it out a little bit, do it a few times, and then figure out what's your best, what's the type of steak you need, and then kind of test it out a little bit. I'm gonna put these in. All right, so I got the steaks in. If they float, which they probably won't if you vacuum seal them, but say if you do use a Ziploc bag or anything like that, they're gonna float a little bit. You could put something to cover it, and then make sure that it actually doesn't submerge and some piece of the steak is actually sitting outside the water. So we have the steaks in, and I'll see you in about 2.5 hours. So we let the steaks sit about 2.5 hours. Now we're gonna take them out, and then after that, we're gonna let it rest about 10 to at most 10 minutes, just to make sure like all those juices kind of like settle. The temperature is gonna go down a little bit, and then they're gonna all those juices basically get sucked back into the steak. I had a few drinks, and I'm feeling really good right now. The way I'm gonna actually do the steaks is there's plenty of different ways you could do the steaks. You could do cast iron skillet, you could do regular pan if you want. I like to use really good butter. One of my favorite butters is Kerrygold. You can do any type of butter if you want. I use the real stuff. I don't use those hydrogenated, whatever, fake butter. Just use real butter, salted. You also can do open fire, which is like, you know, if you want to use charcoal, you want to use butane. If you have a grill out back, just make sure that you sear. Make sure you sear it. You're not trying to cook long periods of time. You're just trying to cook it real quick, 30 seconds on each side, if that. And you just want that nice crust on the outside, because when you sous vide a steak, it's cooked perfectly all the way through. So just make sure that, you know, you're not searing it too much, you're not cooking it too much after you already pulled that out of the sous vide. So we're gonna pull these out right now. You know, as I was actually cooking these, I was rotating it, making sure that the temperature throughout, like all the steaks were the same. And you could just feel too, like how soft each one is. This is really tender, and yeah, obviously we're cooking them medium to medium rare. Yeah, these are really great. And we would just want to sit those to the side about 10 minutes, and then once we're done with that, we're gonna get our pan ready, our butter, whatever how we're gonna sear it, and we'll go from there. After that, so I got my pan ready. I'm just gonna use this pan, simple, you know. I'm not gonna use my cast iron. We're just gonna try to go as basic as possible, and we're gonna use Kerrygold butter, which is my favorite. I'm actually almost all out of this, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I have the steaks sitting about 10 minutes, just to let it rest a little bit, get it closer to room temperature. Now I'm gonna take one of the steaks, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I'm going to sear it, and then how I'm gonna present it to everybody, okay? So I'm gonna understand that there's a lot of juices that has a lot of different flavors. A lot of people do different things. They'll either save the juices, and maybe you could dip it while you actually cut the steaks in how you want to eat it. However you want to do it, it's on you. Usually I just like put it to the side, and you know, it's available to everybody if they want to dip it in there. It's all on you, you know. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you how I sear it. You just cut it, make sure that it's all good. You know, this steak is literally perfect on its own, but when you take it out of the sous vide, it's kind of, you know, it's this light like color. So like if you look at it right there, I mean, it's not that appetizing. And what you really want to do and what you want to have on a steak is that crust, that light, that, you know, nice brown color on the steak. And honestly, and that's what we're trying to do right here. So you could do it however different ways. What I'm going to do is a sear on just a regular pan with some nice Kerrygold butter. All right, so I'm going to take some butter right here. This is nice Kerrygold butter. I'm just going to let it melt. It has been sitting for like at least a nice period of time. I want it as hot as possible. And I understand, like, we're trying to burn, the butter is actually browning right now, and that's fine. Like, that's what I want. I want the steak to actually brown and crisp up and have that nice, beautiful crust, that what I need in order to have a good steak. Add some butter. Understand, we don't need to actually put anything else, but just make sure that we put the butter because it's already seasoned. So I'm gonna take this steak and I just want to have, see, you hear that sound? That's exactly what you need. You just need to have that sear and that sound of like, it's really hot. We just need to have this, make sure that we actually have that pan hot enough in order to create that crust. Now understand that we don't want to burn this steak. We want to create that crust, and we just want to, it's probably 30 minutes maximum that we actually want to have it on. We just want to create that crust and make sure that we use all that butter. And you know, one of my favorite parts is actually the gristles. So I like to just, you know, after you actually sear the side, just make sure you get those thick, it's a thick steak. So you want to make sure that you actually get this part right there. This is my favorite part right here. And you just want to make sure that you actually crisp up that little part right there. All right, so now we have the finished product. This is a seared steak off of the pan. Honestly, it took about 2 minutes. Probably not even that. Make sure that your pan is hot. Make sure that you have a nice golden crust. This is exactly what we have right here. And then from here, we could actually start cutting. Now understand that this is hot, so be careful. You know, make sure that you actually you wear gloves if you want. But what I'm going to show you is that actually after we sear it, we're going to just cut it right into it. And understand that, like, it is pink all the way through. This is medium rare. So 129 degrees. This is just the crust and pink all the way through, and then you have the crust. So all right, so as you can see, it is literally pink all the way through, and it's beautiful pink with a beautiful crust on the side, and that's exactly how you want your steak. All right, that's exactly how to cook a perfect steak. I'm actually gonna give it a taste and see how it is, make sure that it's good. That's perfect. Nice and tender. That's really good. Now you get all the fat and all the crust, and it's a perfect steak. That's exactly what you want for medium rare steak. So that's exactly how to cook a perfect steak. So this is I Just Want to Cook. Tune in next time for next episode. Thank you.